Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2004 comedy Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to Brian for requesting this review, and if there's another film, TV show, or topic you'd like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal, and I will try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. The link will be in the video description down below. Now, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle is one of those films that I found completely at random late one night when I was a teenager, just clicking through channels. It started playing on Comedy Central, and it became an instant gem for me from the very start. I thought it was a really fun, entertaining, hilarious, and wildly creative comedy. And over the years, it's honestly become one of my favorite comedies, if not my favorite stoner comedy, period. And a big part of that is honestly due to the two leads. John Cho and Cal Penn are a dynamic duo. They are absolutely spectacular together. They have really excellent chemistry, and they have the right amount of charisma and relatability that just make them really lovable characters. These two guys, Harold and Kumar, are right up there with Cheech and Chong or some of these other stoner duos. And you just love being along for the ride with these two guys. The film was directed by the late Danny Leiner, who is sadly no longer with us. And he directed another stoner comedy previously in Dude, Where's My Car? Another film that I also enjoy quite a bit. I think that's a fun comedy as well. And he showcased a lot of genuine talent when it comes to the comedy genre in that film, and more of the same is on display here with Harold and Kumar. It has that comic book zany energy to it, and none of it feels like it's forced or it's shoehorned in there. It feels very genuine and natural, and it feels like something that is right in place. And I think there's something to be said about a director who's able to maintain a certain amount of energy throughout a film, especially a comedy movie, and make it so it doesn't peter out. And I think Danny deserves a ton of credit for being able to do that with this film. The movie really is a rollicking, fun time in a lot of ways, not just because of the script and because of the crazy scenarios that Harold and Kumar get involved with, but also because of the directing. The directing doesn't let them down. It's not sluggish. It's something that still feels very fluid, and also at times, because of the different camera angles and different movement of the camera and different takes and different approaches, it feels like it's right at home when it comes to the more creative and wild moments in the film, like Harold and Kumar riding a cheetah through the forest, and the dream sequences, and just a lot of the more high concept ideas. And I think he also did a great job balancing a lot of the different tones throughout the film and making certain scenes actually feel like they have some genuine dramatic weight to them. And for a film that in a lot of ways is just about two guys who are stoned and just want to get some White Castle, it actually does feel like there are some stakes and it feels like there really is something pretty grand that these two characters are trying to strive for. And it's just a film that I think is a prime example of how you can have a stoner comedy, but with the right director, you can really have something genuinely special when it comes to the visuals as well. There's a great shot of Harold and Kumar standing, looking over, I think like a hillside, and it's at night. I thought that was a great, genuinely nice looking shot, and the way that White Castle is shot as well makes it really feel like a very magical place. And all in all, I come away really impressed with Danny's direction in this film, and I think he doesn't get enough credit for what he did with this movie. But as good as Danny's direction is in Harold and Kumar, I mean, the big catalyst, the main reason for this film's overall success is the screenplay by John Hurwitz and Hayden Schlossberg. It's based on experiences and people from when they attended their high school, Randolph High School. And you really can feel that familiarity, you can feel that passion, you can feel that genuine spirit in this script. And I love that this screenplay has two characters of different races in the leads, but it doesn't really make them into characters that are trying to be on a soapbox. There really isn't a lot of moments in this film where it's trying to bash you over the head with the fact that these two leads are Indian and Asian. Like they don't really do that, and I appreciated that a lot. There are some moments where it does mention race, but it doesn't feel like it's preachy. And there are actually some moments of satire involving race that are really clever and ahead of their time, and are genuinely hilarious despite how fucked up they are. Like the repeated gag of the black man getting arrested by the white cops. In today's landscape, that's something that really hits home, and I appreciate the fact that they lampooned it in a way where it wasn't too serious, because that really would have hurt the overall consistency of the tone of the film. The script also has a lot of really nice and clever in jokes and other bits of subtext. The satire of extreme culture, of extreme sports douchebags around the time was just primo. It was just so fucking on the money, with all these douchebag bros adopting this personality, and drinking all these energy drinks and doing all this stupid shit for the sake of being extreme. And I just love the fact that they were included in the film and shown as the utter dipshits as they are. I mean, it really did not hold back. This script was like, these guys are a bunch of fucking dumbasses. Like the fat ass who was doing a pterodactyl screech for some shit and thought he was cool. You know, stuff like that, where you're like, yeah, these guys think they're the shit, but they're fucking posers. They're fucking jokes. I love the bit where it's revealed that they are posers. They're listening to fucking sappy love songs and shit. And there is something to be said about the simplicity of this plot, about Harold and Kumar's, these two friends who decide one night after getting high that they want White Castle. That the one thing that they want in the world at that very moment is White Castle. And it really does tap into that moment that becomes very desirable for the viewer, and it's something that I think a lot of friends can relate to. Not necessarily friends who smoke and get high and do whatever and get the munchies and so on, but friends who want to have those special moments with their buddies, with their pals, and I think the script really does nail that. And then it just has all these really absurd, crazy, wild ideas that just raise the film to another level of genuine brilliance at times. The cameos by Neil Patrick Harris. That was a career resurgence. That was a moment for Neil MPH to just completely transform his image, in a lot of ways resurrect his career. And those cameos are just absolutely hilarious. It's a great bit of casting and it was out of the box and was very different and unique and risky, and it paid off really well. And there are other moments of high concept hilarity. I really love the scene with Jamie Kennedy as this random guy who's peeing on the same bush as Kumar, and he just comes across as this total cracked out weirdo. And it's a scene that in theory might just come across as dumb or just really awkward and not laugh out loud hilarious, but with the right setup and the right people involved, it has you on the floor laughing. Is this your bush? Is this your special bush? Are you the king of the forest? Oh man, so fucking funny. That scene never ceases to crack me up. And I just love the back and forth between Harold and Kumar as well. They have moments where they're antagonistic, but in a way that doesn't come across as too mean. And it really does ride that fine line of antagonistic friendship that this film manages to make look easy, but you can see this just completely fall apart in a lot of other movies where they try to do that as well, but it just comes across as the two guys being utter dickbags to one another. And there really isn't a lot of redeeming qualities about their friendship. But that's not the case here with Harold and Kumar, and I think a big part of that is due to the script as well. And you have the whole bit of the romance with Harold and Maria, and I like that too because it was genuinely sweet and relatable, with the shy guy who can't really get the courage to ask the girl out and has all these fantasies about how he thinks it's going to go down, but of course in reality it never goes down that way. And Harold was a character that I really related to. This guy who's beaten down and treated like shit by his coworkers, and he needed to get some balls and stand up for himself. And once he finally does, things start to turn around for him. Because that's happened for me in high school and other parts of my life. I finally decided to stand up for myself and 100% get at those people who gave me all this shit and give shit back, and got some respect in the process, and they no longer fucked with me. So I could really relate to that. And it's one of those films where, yeah, it's a simple plot. There's a lot of stoner stuff with them smoking and munchies, gags, and stuff like that. And of course, tits and drugs and so on. But it has a very big heart to it. And I think that's something that really, in a lot of ways, is the crux of this film's success, is the heart that this film has. It doesn't feel like some soulless product to try to sell White Castle. It actually feels like it's got its heart in the right place. And there's just a lot of wild creative stuff. Not just the cheetah, but you have the dream sequences. But you got Freak Show, the scenes with Freak Show, and that's something straight out of a horror movie. So that bit of the film is almost like a parody of a horror film, and so that's a lot of fun to see because, as you all know, I'm a big fan of the horror genre. I mean, look at me, I'm wearing a Halloween hat. So yeah, I mean, this script, it's simple but to the point, very effective, and has a lot of soul and genuine spirit to it. And it's really clever. It's got some really biting bits of satire about race and extreme sports dude bro culture. And yeah, I would say it is easily one of the better scripts from this time period, and is definitely something that I think also deserves a little more credit. And then, of course, you have the cast. I do not think that this film would be anywhere near successful as it is without the cast, without John Cho and Cal Penn in particular, because these two were just born to play these roles. They step into these roles and step into the skin of these characters in a way that is so authentic and so real, and it doesn't feel like they are playing a part or just playing a role. They genuinely do become these characters, and as a result, the overall feeling that you get from this film is so much more satisfying because it just feels like it's coming from a genuine place. And it also helps that these two just have just sizzling chemistry. Like, their chemistry is on point, and it's some of the best of this era, of this decade, if not ever, because they just have just really excellent, great chemistry and good comedic timing, and they work well off each other, so well that they make the DVD menu laugh out loud hilarious. I mean, how often does that happen? Where you have actors who are so good at their roles and so good together that they can do a bit for a DVD menu and make that hilarious. I mean, how often does that happen? So, very special chemistry with these two. You not only buy that they're friends and that they've known each other for a long time, but you buy into their journey as a result. Paula Garcés as Maria, she was fine for the role that she had to play. She was genuinely sexy. She had a certain amount of charm to her as well. Neil Patrick Harris almost steals the show. It's this fictionalized version of himself who's the complete opposite of the goody two shoes Doogie Howser. And even had Ryan Reynolds, who has a really funny cameo as an OR nurse, as a favor to Cal Penn, who was a co-star in Van Wilder. You also have David Krumholtz, who plays Goldstein, Eddie K. Thomas, who plays Rosenberg, Harold and Kumar's neighbors. You've got Christopher Meloni, who's completely unrecognizable as Freak Show, who's got all this makeup on and these pus-filled pimples and stuff like that. And Christopher Meloni is such a out-of-the-box casting choice, but apparently he was the first one that the producers, the writers, the directors had in mind. And you can see why. He was just so great in that role. It's hard to believe the same guy from Law and Order SVU is the guy underneath all that makeup as Freak Show. There's a few other actors and actresses who also leave their mark, like Bobby Lee as Kenneth Park, or Anthony Anderson, who plays a Burger Shack employee. Fred Willard, who plays a medical school dean who interviews Kumar near the beginning of the movie. Steve Braun is the leader of the extreme sports dipshits. And you even have other little supporting roles like Gary Anthony Williams, who plays Tariq Jackson, the philosophical black man who keeps getting arrested for being black. Jamie Kennedy, who plays the creepy guy who's peeing on the same bush as Kumar. Um, so yeah, pretty solid, really good cast, anchored by two phenomenal leads, and the rest of the film's pretty well put together as well. There's some good ingredients uh, when it comes to the rest of the film's production. The editing by Jeff Betancourt was very tightly edited. There was a lot of creative edits at times too that really helped the action keep flowing and moving smoothly. The music by David Kite, it's not something that's gonna really stick with you, but I thought it fit the tone of the film and the vibe of the film well. The cinematography by Bruce Douglas Johnson, there are some moments where it is actually pretty stunning and surprisingly impressive for a comedy, for a stoner comedy. And the visual effects, I will admit, are definitely some of the weaker aspects of this movie because you can tell that it was a lower budget and there is some bad blue screen or green screening effects at points in the film, but they don't rely upon it too much. So there are some moments though where the visual effects shine as a result because there are moments like the dream sequence with the Burgerland scene, and that was a really great bit of visual effects, if you ask me. Very creative, very artistic, and there are a few other scenes where they do stuff like that, where the visual effects actually do work. But then there's other scenes like the skydiving scene, which admittedly are pretty poor in terms of the presentation and how things are ultimately put together. And it's one of those films that doesn't overstay its welcome as well. It's a movie that goes by at a really great pace. It's only 88 minutes long, and it never feels like it drags. You're never really having moments where it's listing to one side, or you're getting a little tired with it, or it's running out of steam. No, it's just consistently engaging and fun and full of energy. And it's a film that I definitely do feel deserved whatever acclaim and whatever amount of money that it ultimately did make over the years. I think it's well deserving of its cult status and then some. It's a really hilarious, fun ride of a comedy that has two great characters who you love to be around and you want to hang around with yourself and smoke some weed with and go to White Castle. Like it's really that kind of film. And I do feel that over the years it has gotten the respect that it deserves because it didn't do that great in the box office. If you think about it, it cost 9 million and only made 23 million. So it's not like it was this runaway box office smash theatrically. It made a profit, but I think it really started to hit a peak on home video. And that's why it ultimately got a franchise, is because it was a very successful film on home video. And you can see why. It's just such a fun watch. And I mentioned this multiple times in this video, but I'll do it again because I do think it bears repeating. The film is so much more clever than some people make it out to be. I mean, the stuff with the extreme sports guys, there's a scene where the song that they're listening to on the radio is in itself also a satire of the same kind of songs that these douchebag bros would be listening to. And it's brilliant. It's just this guy singing, same song, same song, same song. And I thought when I first heard that, I was like, that is fucking genius. That is hilarious. And that just shows you that everyone involved with this film put a ton of thought into this. They did not half-ass this. They did not rush this in any way. They didn't just smoke some weed and just write a script and call it a day. There was some genuine compassion and care put into this film, and it ultimately paid off in a big way. It's a film that I honestly could probably watch over and over again, never get tired of it, and it's a movie that is consistently entertaining and enjoyable each time that I see it. And I highly recommend it. I really do. I highly recommend it. Even if you're not a big fan of this kind of genre, I still think that it's worth watching because it takes a simple concept of two guys, two friends who just want to get to one simple goal, to eat some White Castle, and the experiences and the adventure and the hardships that they encounter along the way, and how by the end of it all they change as characters, they change it for the better, and their relationship also becomes so much more concrete and stronger overall. And it's just a really lovable film in a multitude of different ways. But anyway, thank you for watching my review of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. And as always, I'll see you later. See ya.